Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Smoko podcast. My name is Alexis Armstrong, your host. Nice to meet you. The Smoko podcast is a place to celebrate and highlight women, trans women, and non-binary folk working within STEM and trade occupations. So please tune in, take a break, and join us. We are on Smoko. And today we are extremely lucky to be joined by Rosemary Cescolini. Her background is in manufacturing. She works for a family-owned and operated company who makes these beautiful custom doors. She is also the CEO and founder of Only Women Entrepreneurs, which we're going to talk a lot about her organization, what they do, her show. Rosemary, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Hello, Alexis, and thank you so much for having me, inviting me to the show, and sharing my story. I'm so excited to get started and let everybody know what I'm all about.
Me too. I honestly, I can't wait to have this conversation. And if we could start, I know a little bit of your backstory, and I just find it very, very interesting. And I would love to learn more because I know that you started as a high school teacher and you had a background in education. And then you went from education to learning a skilled trades, working within this family owned business, and then becoming an entrepreneur. And I think you've always been an entrepreneur. It kind of sounds like that's been something within your life the entire time. But could you kind of go through this process of going from a teacher to then skilled trades to then being like, you know what, I'm going to start my own foundation, O.W.E. How did that happen?
Wow, that's a very big question to start off, right? And I hope I can provide a synopsis of it. Like you said, I originally started my working career as a high school teacher in Toronto,
Mm,
and I really believed that I would retire as a teacher. But unfortunately, things didn't work out as planned because politics came into play in
mm,
the classroom, and I really didn't want to be part of it. I was there for a purpose. I love young people, molding them, sculpting them, and I considered myself as an artist when I signed up to be a teacher. And not being able to have that voice taken away from me, I thought it was time to move on and look for something else. And that was a big uncertain time in my life.
mm.
I wasn't sure what I was going to do with an education degree. Like teaching is your key focus. But then out of the blue, my father-in-law, his name is Florio, just offered me an incredible opportunity. He said, you know what? Why don't you join the family business? It's growing and I need help in expanding it. I said, huh, well, that's a big if. Like, what am I going to do there? I have zero experience. Like, what do I know about manufacturing? And a male populated industry like
Mhm.
door making, that was a guy thing. And so I kind of thought about it and I said, well, you know what? Let me try it for a year and see if I like it. So we ended up working there, and my father in law said the best way to learn everything is at the ground floor, and that's on the production shop. And between him and my husband, they were my mentors.
Mm.
They taught me how to be a skilled artisan in the art of door making. It took a few years, but I mastered it. And then eventually, once I had that all down packed, my father-in-law said, "You know what? You're ready to take the next step." And the next step was to learn entrepreneurial skills, the day-to-day runnings of a business. So I graduated into that.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. Rosemary, I would love to ask like a follow-up question on that time in your life when you were like, oh my goodness, I have no idea really what the next step is and what's the step after education. I could imagine how scary that was and how difficult of a time that was. And to make that decision, if it's a path that you've always loved and it's been kind of a part of a passion of yours is teaching people and educating people. And I think it's funny that in a roundabout way, you're back there. And I feel like you're working now as a mentor and a coach. It's still a part of your life. But that time where you made that decision to be like, okay, I'm going to enter this family business or our family business, and I'm going to now learn a skill trade and I'm going to now learn manufacturing. How was that process? Was it terrifying? Was it an instant click? Like, how was that first day on the shop floor of being like, okay, this is how you create a door?
Oh, you brought back some pretty tough memories. It was painfully hard, I'd
Mm,
have to admit, because I felt so stupid
Mm,
because nothing in life really prepared me for what was coming, for my future. Like I had no knowledge and little experience. Like I didn't know what type of wood we were dealing with, how to process it. I couldn't even read a tape measure. And the other thing is I had this incredible pressure, not from my own family, but everybody that was working there because they saw me as a person that could either make or break their job there
mm,
because being in business, reputation is incredibly important. And my father-in-law had built a fantastic reputation of reliability and quality and service. And then here I was, not knowing anything. Would I be able to maintain those standards and not put jobs at risk? Because once your
mhm,
credibility and your belief with customers fades, sales go down, and
mhm,
then layoffs are inevitable, right? So there's the negative consequences. And the other thing is the thing of trust. I had to build trust with my employees.
mm,
They had to trust me in the fact that if we were working side by side, creating projects, would I go through all the safety protocols to ensure no one got hurt,
mhm,
including myself? Because you know what? If you make one mistake, you set a machine incorrectly, and the cutters that are on the machines, the
mhm,
blades that shape the wood, if they're not secured properly, all you need is that to fly off, and
mhm,
in an instant, you'll lose your whole hand.
mhm.
So initially, I didn't feel like I belonged there, and I just felt completely out of place.
I could imagine that. Like, I'm sorry that that was your experience, but I could imagine that feeling of feeling out of place. I think that you touched on a couple of cool things. I think the one thing that I resonated with is this idea of ethical business. And I think that that comes out in spades of having the responsibility on your shoulders to be like, okay, if our quality goes down, this is going to affect our employees, and our employees are one of the main things that we are responsible for as a business. And I think that's very different and very cool. And you can always tell that that's from a good company if that is their mentality. So it's wonderful that you had that mindset, but I could imagine the pressure that you were under of having that mindset and having that responsibility and maybe not the skills yet or the experience yet. When did you start changing and kinda going around the corner, and what took you there? Like, what helped you all of a sudden be like, "Okay, you know what? I think I got this. I'm comfortable in this. I understand this business."
That's a very good question, and I think this will apply to everyone. It really resonated with me, and that's something my father-in-law said, and it stuck with me for years. He said, "Listen, we set our own boundaries in life.
Mm,
There's no such thing that you can't do something. You can't acquire a skill. Think back to when we were born, when we were babies. Did we know how to speak? Did
mm,
we know how to walk? Did we know how to take care of ourselves? No. These were all skills that we were taught by our caregivers, whether parents, babysitters, and so forth. So he said, what makes this any different?
mm,
As long as you show up every day, you ask questions, and when you're not sure of something, make sure that you're sure. And we will show you. If you need to be shown something 1,000 times, well, then ask 1,000 times. Don't ever be afraid
mm.
until you got it. And that's one piece of advice I kept in my mind every day. So let me learn, let me be present in the moment to figure things all out. And then as soon as I gained some skill, I moved on to the next step. So
Mm.
we started at the bottom, and then we just created foundations until I got up to the top. And that's how it was done.
That's incredible. That's, like, also wonderful advice for everybody out there to emulate because I think it's very simple advice, but I always think that the most simple advice is usually the best and it's usually the
Yes.
most powerful. I think the more simple of advice, usually the further it will take you. But I also love, again, this culture. We're kind of going back to ethical business, and you
Hmm.
can tell, like, that type of structure takes a lot of safety and it takes a lot of positivity in a workplace to be able to have that psychological safety that you can ask a thousand questions and be like, okay, we're going to have continual learning until we're at that moment. It's the sign of having two very good mentors in your life, which I love to hear.
Yes, yes. So they were very good mentors, and I'm very appreciative for them standing by me and teaching me with enormous patience.
That's incredible. I know that mentorship is something that's very important to you, and I know it's something that you guys talk on your show all the time. And I know that you guys talk about the importance of having female mentors, and that within your life, maybe that was something that you didn't have, especially within this new role of manufacturing and custom building of doors, of meticulous, gorgeous doors. Could you kind of speak to the importance of women mentors, their impact, and how maybe people listening could actually find women mentors in their life? Because I think we're always looking for these wonderful mentors. I think that's a common throughout industry and throughout people, but at heart, at times, they can be very, very hard to find.
Yes, I would have to agree that the majority of my mentors were male. One person that really stands out as a mentor was my own mom.
Oh.
My parents, immigrants from Italy in the late 50s, grade five education. They had very little skills and they worked at all the jobs that nobody wanted.
Mhm.
And she would tell me the good, the bad, the ugly. And she never sugar coated anything for for me. She said, life is hard. It's tough. And you know what? You need to learn to grow a thick skin, and you need to stand on your own 2 feet because no one's going to really help you. And one specific scene that really, stayed with me for my whole life and that really affected how I grew as a person was when I was 8 years old. My father was diagnosed with stage 3 prostate cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. But thankfully, he did survive. But it really put a lot of pressure on the
Mhm.
family. Like, I was 8 years old, my brother was 15. My parents had just purchased a home, they had mortgage, they had bills to pay, and they were stacking up because my dad was unable to work. So we saw our mother struggle. So my brother and I, we pitched in, did all the chores around the house to make things easier for her. We cooked, we put the groceries away, but the bills were piling up. And we were really afraid that we would end up on the street.
Mm.
And my mother wouldn't say it, but you could sense that
Yeah.
she was really uneasy. And we didn't have a lot of support networks back then to rely on. So my brother and I said, we got to do something. And so he got a job at Canadian Tire part
Mm.
time. And then he said, well, when we have some extra time, why don't we just start doing things like I started selling lemonade. We went and knocked on doors of neighbors and we asked them, could we mow your lawn, rake your leaves, remove
Mhm.
snow, babysit, anything that would bring in money. And we would give it to my mom, and it actually helped along the way
Mhm.
because we saw her working and never taking care of herself and always
Aw.
putting my brother and my needs ahead of everyone else's, that we saw the sacrifices she made. And we knew that if we pulled together as a unit, things would get better eventually. And they did. So my mom taught me never to give up,
Mhm.
perseverance, go out and get things. Don't ever be afraid to do something. And even if you get shot down, what do you think? My neighbors all wanted me to go and mow their lawns. They would say, scram, get lost. And, but it taught me valuable skills. Like, that was when entrepreneurship first came in my life.
Mhm.
Second of all, I learned to speak to people and gain the confidence to ask for things. And even if I got shot down, who cares? That's their
Mhm.
missed opportunity. That's how I looked at it. So, in response to your question, yes, women mentors is very important. And I personally did not have a lot of them.
Mm.
And this is the one of the reasons why I'm here and I started
Mhm.
just to provide that mentorship which is lacking out there.
Mm. No, it's incredible. And That's an incredible story. I'm so sorry that that happened to you, and I'm sorry that that situation happened to you. But at the same time, the story in itself is a story of resiliency, and there's a beauty in it because you guys did band together, and as a family, you were okay. And I could imagine as a mom, that, like, gratitude that she must have had and felt from her children to be like, "Okay, well, they have my back," and not only like a financial aid, but also an emotional aid. Like, that is a heavy burden, and I couldn't imagine how stressed she must have been at that point of her life, and so there's a beauty in that story that you were there for your family and to be as a family unit, which I think kinda comes through in themes within this interview. I feel like a
Yes.
family unit and a family business is one theme. I think entrepreneurship is another theme. I think there's a beauty again that that's your origin story. I mean, your entire life is shaped by being an entrepreneur, and I feel like it happened at a very young age. I resonate with it as that story is very similar to my father's. My father was basically in the exact same position. His was not mowing lawns, his was collecting rat ears because there was a city of Burnaby did a every single pair of rat ears that you brought in, they had a pest problem, you got $2. And so
Wow.
he bought all the BBs and then would just give it to the kids and collect all the ears. That was the business. It was a little bit of a scam, but you know what I mean? He hustled.
That's
But it reminded me a lot of this story. So I really resonated with it. Thank you very
oh.
much. Rosemary, we've talked a little bit about O. I've been saying O.W.E. Apologies. I don't know if it's O or, but with O, we've talked a little bit about it, but we haven't talked directly about it. And I would love to dive into this organization and to this company that you founded. I would love to learn about how that actually came to be when you decided to be like, okay, we're going to do something else. We're also going to create O. And then could you define if people are unaware about what you guys do, your mission, your goals, how it works, the structure of your organization?
Wow, that's a
Big
loaded
question.
question.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, let's just start with what O stands for. It's just short for Only Women Entrepreneurs. It goes to the core of who I am. I established O in 2023 with a profound dedication to empowering and elevating women. I wanted to create a nurturing space where women in general are encouraged to venture into entrepreneurship, just like I did. Okay, in my case, I stumbled over it and also at the same time consider alternative career paths. And what I mean by that is manufacturing, construction, and mining, because that's where I, through personal experience again, I'm finding where those opportunities are huge
Mhm.
and we're gobbling up anybody that wants to join in those type of careers. It's about dismantling barriers. Like,
Mm.
who said that construction is only for guys? It's the same thing when you flip it around. When you go to a nail salon to get your nails done,
Mhm.
you can get a male or a female technician now. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. So why can't we apply that perspective to areas where there are predominantly male? So let's flip that around. I want women to be empowered to not be afraid to follow their passions. And I, as an example, want to demonstrate to every woman that you can achieve this provided you have the tools and the resources. And that's where O came about. I want O to be the ultimate go to hub for mentorship.
Mm.
I'm dedicated to offering my experience and expertise for all women through educational resources. Because I'm a teacher, I created them based on my personal experiences, what I went through, my day-to-day dealings. Like, even though I started this organization, this new business, I'm still active in my other business, and I'm always engaging with people, especially women, because they're coming into play every day, which is fantastic. The numbers are growing. In fact, last week I had a project where I needed a new roof on a
Mm,
project that I was working on. And I stumbled across a new company that was female led,
mm,
and that intrigued me. So I called the company, and a nice lady answered, and she was extremely knowledgeable.
mm,
And she agreed to meet me on site to go on the roof and see exactly what the work entailed. And long story short, she provided me with a quote, because I usually get 3 quotes
mhm,
for the jobs. And she won the bid, and she starts this week. So I'm very excited, and that's what I want to promote. I want to
mhm,
see women leading these type of companies. I want them to be the face of manufacturing, construction, mining, because you know what? We are smart. We are
mhm,
capable. But I just don't see anything out there that is pointing women in that direction. It's very, very important that we get that message out. Also, I wanted to create like a tight knit community
mm,
for female entrepreneurs, for founders, for women who are maybe in between careers
mhm.
and they're not sure where to go, because I'm pretty sure, and maybe I'm just assuming, that during your educational career you were guided in certain traditional paths. Were you ever, guided towards construction, manufacturing, mining? Like, you're younger than me, perhaps you were, but we didn't have those options. And I just want to present those.
Mm. I think it's fantastic, and I really resonate with your guys' organization and the fact that it is once I learned that you were a teacher, I was like, "Oh, light bulb," like, it clicked that I was like, "Oh, okay, this makes so much more sense," because there's so many resources and it's very resource-based, which I absolutely love because it's a toolkit, basically. The company is, a toolkit, testimonials, it's this is how to do something and how to bring somebody through a challenge and how to bring somebody through maybe a journey of something new, of entrepreneurship or working within this environment. But as soon as I learned that you were a teacher, I was like, this makes sense that this is very resource heavy. But I absolutely love that because I think that's one of the best things that you can have to learn is having kind of a guideline and a resource list and just knowing that other people have gone through it and what's worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, listening to their story and understanding their life, I feel like it's very, very helpful. So I love that aspect of O. I do also love that it's really focused on non-traditional pathways and maybe alternative careers and having that push of female leadership. I think we talk a lot about women in STEM and women in trades. For me, I'm a geologist, so mining was always a like easy thing. As soon as you were like
Yeah.
19, I entered the mining industry because if you like rocks, that's where you go. So, especially if you're in Canada, you go into
Well,
mining.
when I found that out about you, honestly speaking, I go, I wish I would have had that option, because
Mm,
going back to geography in high school,
mm,
we just learned about rocks, which really was fascinating for me. But at no point during my educational journey was a career ever talked about. And
mm.
that would have been something that I would have been really interested in perhaps pursuing. So
Mhm,
that's a missed chance.
mm. That, like, connection point of being like, "This is the
Hmm.
education, but then this is the professional aspect. This is how you're going to actually interact in the world. If you choose to be a geologist, this is your career."
Well,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
yeah.
because what we retain in information is stuff that we can use every day. How many bits and pieces of information that we have learned over the years that we've forgotten because
Mm,
it was useless? We didn't need it. But then if you can kind of like put together the fact that, okay, if you learn something about geology and there's
mhm,
opportunities in mining, that kind of piques your curiosity to explore further. Well, what exactly can I get a job in? And
mhm,
and what kind of job? Like, if you're interested in traveling, I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to do that, because I was listening to your podcast, and you were always at sea, which
mhm,
is phenomenal. You got the opportunity to go to places where I haven't even been yet.
mhm.
That's
Yeah, that was
fabulous.
it was a huge draw. But yes, I agree,
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
think I think what you guys are doing of putting that information very clearly and plainly and putting it to be like, this is a career path for you and looking at it professionally. And then again, these are the skills that you need. These are the resources that can help you get there. Like, I think it's a very beautiful layout in terms of company and in terms of learning and kind of focusing and bringing women to leadership. I also love that viewpoint of entrepreneur and leader, because I think that it's also something that is very common to the experience of women within non-traditional roles, because a lot of times these careers are not structured for having kids or having a balance between a family and profession. And I think having this entrepreneurial mindset of being like, okay, I
Hmm.
can start my own roofing company, I can have a balance, I can go home at 3 o'clock to pick up my son or my daughter. Like, it gives you a more balanced life. And I think it really does center maybe some more women and gender diverse people, but it centers our problems that are maybe unique to us. So I love that model in your company as well. I really do.
Thank you so much. And that's an important point, too, that I want to bring out. One of the big obstacles that women have to encounter is, like you said, some of us, we settle down, we have families.
Mhm.
And you know what? I have 4 adult kids. And when I was working full time at the business, I had to schedule my time around my
Mhm.
kids' time. Like I put them on the bus in the morning and I was home to take them off the bus. And then sometimes, there was unique things going on at school. Well, I would, pencil in my time and say, listen, I have to spend time with the kids.
Mhm.
And I had that flexibility, which was fantastic because I didn't miss out either or. Okay, so what? It took me a little longer to learn to become a skilled artisan. Whoop de
Mhm.
doo, right?
Mhm.
But the point is, I didn't miss out on any family activities, which is great. And the other point is focusing on other women leaders. And
Mhm.
to enable this and to support that direction, I have the O podcast,
Mhm.
which is on weekly on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I feature either a female business owner.
Mhm.
Like this past week, I just had someone who owns her own construction business, and
Mhm.
she's done over 1,000 renovation and
Oh my God.
construction jobs. She's got 26 full time employees that are all male. She's had a fantastic journey, and she's really, really good in her career. And she was able to do all the things that women or designed to do,
Mhm.
and more. So those kind of stories are highlighted, as well as young women who are embarking in these alternative career paths. We have women that are electricians,
Mhm.
plumbers, and they tell their stories and they love it. I
Yeah.
just recently interviewed a young lady who's in mining, and she was tickled pink because she was able to buy a house at 21 years of
Mhm.
age.
Mhm.
Whereas people in Toronto that are in their 30s, they're unable to do that. They're professionals, they're working hard, but they're unable to achieve home ownership. So these are things that need to be brought into light, and people to think about. Yeah,
Mhm.
consider these alternative trades as well as entrepreneurship.
I
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely love it. Rosie, one other topic that I would love to talk about today is a phenomenon that's happening all across North America, but it's a big topic of not even debate because it's just a clear fact, is the labor shortage in skilled trades and the opportunities that this entails, maybe to women entering these fields and also to men within these fields. The skilled trades is something that's necessary, and we have huge shortages throughout Canada. Could you kind of speak to this and what you believe the future of the skilled trades will look like in Canada, where you would like us to go in skilled trades in Canada?
Oh, absolutely. And I am very happy that you brought this topic
Mm.
up because I see the shortage in skilled trades as critical. It's like on life support. And this is because we are experiencing a gray tsunami. Have you ever heard of that term?
No, I haven't.
A gray tsunami is the retirement of
Oh,
older individuals
yes.
in the
Yeah.
skilled trades. but no one there to replace them.
Mhm.
And this has happened because the past 20 years, we have been driven to university, university, university. And no one's paid attention to skilled trades. It was fine when my father and my father in law were
Mhm.
working in the skilled trades. But unfortunately, they're no longer with us.
Mhm.
And people that are younger, they're retiring at an astronomical rate, but we're not replacing them fast enough.
Mhm.
So, what has this spurred? Incredible opportunities. Like, even if you have no experience and you're curious about construction or manufacturing, mining, like, for example, you want to come to our manufacturing facility, we are expanding. We have a new division opening up this coming spring, and we're hiring,
Mhm.
and we were overwhelmed with resumes. Just the first day, I think we got over 200 of them,
Oh,
and
wow. Yeah.
it was very encouraging to see. We hired some people with experience and some people with none. And we are willing, as employers, we're willing to train. Why? Because we want to have that ability to retain them for the rest of their lives. I want my place of employment to be their one stop as a job source.
Mm.
And that was a philosophy my father in law has had over the years, where people literally came to Canada and this was their first and only job, and they retired with us. We want to maintain that. And other employers are now starting to see the importance of that, investing in employees and paying for their certifications, their apprenticeship. And once they're done and they're ready to go, you have a job waiting for you. You have a
Mhm.
secure job because we are busy. And the other thing is, anyone that decides to go into this kind of line of work, it's no cost to you.
Mhm.
Because even the government is right now promoting a life in the skilled trades, and,
Mhm.
and they're working with unions, they're working with employers, and we're trying to bring in everyone into the skilled trades. So there's an enormous amount of opportunity. What I fear is we still need to do more,
Mm.
because the rate of retirees to the number of people engaging in the skilled trades is far too low.
Mm.
So, this is really going to affect the cost of products and services. They're going to skyrocket, and skilled trades are going to command a wage. So, for example, your toilet's not working, and I'm a plumber, and I have the choice of showing up to your home, right? Or going to my place of business where I have multiple washrooms,
Mhm.
multiple services. Who do you think the skilled trade's going to pick?
Mhm.
It's going to be me, because A, you're just a one time job. So what? Your toilet doesn't fix. Maybe you have another one. That's going to be their attitude. But no, I'll go to Rosemary's company because you know what? There's potential for other services down the line. So I'm going to jump in the front of the line. And
Mhm.
it's simply because of supply and demand.
Mm.
Supply is going to increase. No, supply is going to decrease, sorry, and,
Mhm.
and demand is going
Demand.
to increase.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be bad. And it's going to be unaffordable for a lot of people, which I don't think is fair.
Mm-mm. No, it isn't. No, it isn't fair for like that to be the consequence of it. I do think that I agree with that. I do think that that will be a consequence of change in behavior and change in market. I think also another aspect of the skilled trade shortage is also because of environment and because the environment and culture has been stereotypically toxic. I know it hasn't been in every single firm and in every single
Hmm.
place within the country, but it is known to be a very, very hard culture. That is something that's very common. And I think if that problem is not sorted or is not changing at the same rate as kind of what's required, I do think that that will also still have a problem with skilled trades. I know with geology and in mining, a huge problem in Canada is the same gray tsunami. I had never heard that term, but the same idea existed. geologists were either 65 or they were 20. There was no gap. Um,
Oh, wow.
and a huge issue with that is in Canada, up until maybe like late 70s, it was actually illegal to work in the mines as a woman. And so you just didn't have this as an option for a huge portion of the population. And so a huge portion of the population was also never even going to consider that as an option or as a career, even when it became
Mhm.
available in the 80s, early 80s, 90s. It was still something that was so, so new in its infancy. And because of that, you're missing a huge gap of the population that could even enter into that trade or enter into that environment. And I feel like the same thing is happening a little bit or has happened in trades. So it's also something that I do think if we don't get women into the skill trades, I think we're still going to have this labor shortage. But then on the other hand of it, this labor shortage is a fantastic opportunity for women to enter the skill trades.
Yeah, and oh my goodness, that is such an important point that you brought up. Before I make another point, I just want to go back to finding out why women weren't allowed to go in mining. I have an idea, but I want to hear it from you and
It
see
was
if I dead
it was
on
too
it.
dangerous. It was too dangerous
Okay.
for us.
Yeah.
And I think there was also like there's some very stupidity things and some bias based in mining. It's still also within ships of distraction and bad luck and like
Okay.
some
Old
old
world
wives.
superstitions.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, a lot of things I heard in addition to all those was women can't do that because it would affect their reproductive ability.
Oh goodness. Ugh. Yuck.
Which is
Yuck to
totally
that.
fictitious, right? Totally fictitious. So that's great. But you're right. And one thing that I'm working towards is trying to change the educational system.
Mm,
And that's going to take a lot of work. Like I cannot do it by myself,
mhm.
but I would welcome the opportunity to work with, the Ministry of Education just in our province to rewrite the curriculum.
Mm,
And it's got to start from kids as soon as they start school and not put boundaries with different occupations,
mhm.
especially with trades. Yeah, you could have, a woman who is a machine operator. You can have a man as a nurse. Just let it go
Mhm.
and not make it gender specific anymore.
Mhm. I love that answer. Rosemary, just to end our call, just because this has been fantastic and it's been so lovely to hear your story. I've resonated with it, and I just think think you're incredible, and your aspect of combining your background in teaching and your ethics in a family business and the themes of resilience and the themes of entrepreneurship is a very, very cool thing and a cool story. I wanted to end it with a shameless plug of being like, what are you most excited about with O right now? What are big initiatives and goals of O? And what can we get excited about as well to see for your year?
Well, I want to say thank you for all those wonderful compliments. And I know you're doing great work as well. And our missions are aligned. And
Mhm,
that's, I'm really happy to see.
mhm,
And I'm encouraging all women to come on board and join us. One really, really exciting initiative that I'm working alongside two other women entrepreneurs that are trailblazing their own path in their journeys. We've created something called the You Owe It to Yourself conference. It's going to be in King City, Ontario. It consists of 5 workshops, 10 plus speakers,
mm,
and it's limited. We're only going to have 64 attendees because we want to make it up close and personal. And the primary goal of this conference is we want to unite women.
mm,
We want to make sure that you don't feel alone in either your entrepreneurial journey or your new career path in an alternative industry. We also want to provide mentorship.
mm,
We want to empower you. And I don't care what stage of life you're in. If you're 60 years old or you're 18 and you need that guidance, then you got to be there
mm,
because we're going to have a phenomenal panel of experienced women where you're going to be able to get up and close and personal and ask all the questions that you may have
Mm.
about entrepreneurship, like whether you're thinking of starting it. You might have a business plan for us to
Mhm.
review. We'll gladly review it. You need pointers. If you already have a business and you've kind of like plateaued and you need new direction, new life, well, we're going to help you out with that. And we want to make sure that any woman that is perhaps unsure of, okay, maybe entrepreneurship is not for me,
Mhm.
and they might be at a path in their lives like I was teaching that
Mhm.
I need out at my present situation. Well, we want to have options for you to consider, at the same time, resources. And then when you leave this 3 day conference, you're going to have the tools that will give you the ability to take action on what you learned those 3 days. So it also provides excellent networking opportunities. You can make friendships, or you can actually establish a business partnership. You don't know
Mhm.
who you're going to meet at the event. Part of the program is wellness,
Mm.
because it's really important that you tune into your mind and your body to make sure you're healthy. And if not, we can provide guidance there. So there are a few workshops that we're going to deal with health and wellness. There's nature paths. It is an actual beautiful place. It's called the Kingbridge Center, and it's hotel and convention. So it's one of a kind. It's out of the city, and it will put you in touch with nature.
Oh, I love that. Like, that sounds like the best
Yeah.
weekend in August you could think of. Like, that sounds gorgeous.
It's
Unreal.
perfect. It is
Yeah.
unreal, and it's one of a kind. I don't see any of those right now. To be able to spend 3 intense days with incredible individuals, incredible women leaders that know all the ins and outs of practically every industry. And we want to make this sort of like a yearly activity. So if you miss out this year, there's going to be an opportunity next year. But like I said, it's limited. It's only 64 people. I don't want to open it up to like a lecture hall in university, because that will not allow us to have that one-to-one time with our guests.
That's wonderful. No, I am very excited. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited for the future of it. I'm excited that it's going to become an annual thing. I think
Mhm.
that's wonderful in itself. And Rosemary, just thank you for coming on the show today and talking about your journey and your business and and future goals and aspirations and everything in between. It's been a lovely call. So thank you.
No, my pleasure. And I need to thank you for creating this opportunity for me to have another platform to explain to women what I'm trying to do, and to connect with us, and to be that mentor that is severely lacking for women. Like I said, I thank you wholeheartedly. I want to express my gratitude, and I want to express my well wishes with all your endeavors.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that immensely. Thank you very much.
All right, then. All the
Yeah.
best. And you know what? Keep in touch.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Bye, Rosemary, and
Bye.
everybody listening. Bye bye. We will see you next Wednesday.